Chapter 1, Mishnah 5. When Tuma is passed from one thing to another, the level of Tuma generally decreases. Thus, if something Tahor comes in contact with an Ava Tuma, a primary source of Tuma, it becomes a Rishon, first level of acquired Tuma. Something that becomes Tame from a Rishon becomes a Sheni, second level of acquired Tuma. And something that becomes Tame from a Sheni becomes a Shlishi, third level of acquired Tuma. An avatuma can transmit tuma to people and utensils, as well as to foods and liquids, making them a rishon. Generally speaking, a rishon can transmit tuma only to foods and liquids, making them a sheni, but not to people or utensils. With ordinary foods and liquids, chulin, the transmission of tuma stops with the sheni, because ordinary food cannot become a shlishi. Only teruma and kodesh foods and liquids can become a shlishi, and only kodesh can become a revi'i, fourth level of acquired tuma. Our Mishnah discusses what happens when tame foods with different levels of tuma are combined. Food that became tame from touching an avatuma, thereby making it a rishon, and food that became tame from touching an acquired tuma, thereby making it a sheni, combine with each other to transmit tuma according to the level of tuma of the lesser of them. That is, food that is a rishon combines with food that is a sheni to transmit tuma on the level of a sheni. The Mishnah illustrates this rule. How so? In which case do they combine to be a sheni? If a piece of rishon food, half the size of an egg, and a piece of sheni food, half the size of an egg, were mixed together, the mixture is treated as a sheni. As we learned in the previous Mishnahs, a tame food cannot transmit food tuma unless it is the size of an egg. Since the piece that was a rishon was less than the size of an egg, it can transmit food tuma only by combining with the sheni to become the size of an egg. The Mishnah teaches that these two pieces do combine, but only to the extent of transmitting tuma as a sheni, the lesser of their two tumos. Similarly, if a piece of sheni food half the size of an egg and a piece of shlishi food half the size of an egg were mixed together, the mixture is treated as a shlishi. Here too, the sheni piece is too small to transmit food tuma on its own, and it can only do so by combining with the shlishi to become the size of an egg. The Mishnah teaches that these pieces do combine, but only to the extent of transmitting tuma as a shlishi, the lesser of their two tumos. The law is different in a case where the rishon and sheni foods did not need to combine with each other because each was the size of an egg by itself. If a piece of rishon food the size of an egg and a piece of sheni food the size of an egg were mixed together to form a single mass the size of two eggs, the mixture is treated as a rishon. Since the rishon food in this mixture is large enough to transmit tuma on its own, the entire mixture is treated as a rishon. The Mishnah discusses what happens when the mixture is then cut in half, leaving two pieces each the size of an egg. If you then split the mixture in two separate pieces, this piece is treated as a sheni, and this piece is treated as a sheni. We assume that each piece is made up of rishon food mixed with sheni food. Since neither piece has a full measure of rishon food, each is treated as a sheni. If this piece then fell by itself onto a loaf of teruma and was removed, and then that piece fell by itself onto a loaf of teruma, they disqualify it. Since each of these pieces is treated as a sheni, each one by itself can disqualify teruma by making it a shlishi. However, if the two pieces fell onto a loaf of teruma together and both are touching it at the same time, they make it a sheni. Since these two pieces contain between them a full measure of rishon food, the teruma is now touching a full measure of rishon food. It therefore becomes a sheni.